Entrepreneur, author, and financial consultant Mark Bernstein helps high-performing entrepreneurial business owners create a vision for the future and follow through on their goals and intentions. Ange Honorato is a business growth strategist who blends psychology and business together to create conscious leaders and business owners who impact the world. Founders Forum is a radio show podcast sharing the real stories behind entrepreneurship as founders discover more about themselves while providing valuable lessons and some fun and entertainment for you. Now, here's Mark and Ange.
Good morning, America. How are you? We're here on Founders Forum today. I'm here with my co-host, Ange Honorato, and our guests today are Eugene Seagriff and Gary Ricci. And I'm not going to, I'll introduce them in a couple of minutes and give you their backgrounds. It's a wonderful day here in Philadelphia. We hope you're having a great day. And Ange has a quote of the day that we're going to use as our opening remarks.
Yeah, not only is it a quote of the day, it's fitting from the sort of innovative tech conversation we're going to have today. Quick backstory, Mark and I were chatting this morning prepping, and I was in a different part of the house, and we talked about a quote. And 30 minutes later, I'm in my kitchen getting coffee, and my Alexa screen just popped up and said, "Here's a quote for the day." And I never asked it to do that. So it heard me in a whole different part of the house, which is terrifying. But
we should talk about AI a little bit.
Yeah, I was a little, we've been talking to Alexa for a while, but
we've been talking a lot of AI on this show.
Yeah, it was a little bit too, I felt like it was in my head, not just any event. Fun quote today from our favorite Steve Jobs. "Remembering that you're going to die is the best way I know to avoid the trap of thinking you have something to lose. You're already naked. There's no reason not to follow your dreams." So my initial take on that is one of just pure excitement, because I can't wait to hear the stories of how our two guests today have jumped in and kind of followed this dream. So what do you think about that, Mark? I know you have thoughts.
Well, I take that by so that we're recording the show. We did a live show just before this, as we often do, with Dr. Bruce Grossinger, and we were talking about audacity. And to me, there's some overlap with that. To me, I hear in that, you're going to die, so go for the gusto, do everything you can do. And I know that I talked a little bit on that show, I won't go into today, how that's impacted me in terms of my view of my own business. But a lot of the entrepreneurs I know, it's just people that, it's like there's nothing to be embarrassed about. There's nothing to slow you down. Just like, go for it, whatever it is.
You don't need the safety net, truly.
And that applies to what we're talking about here today. So let me introduce the gentleman really quick, and then I'm going to ask you your thoughts on that quote, and then we're going to get into your story. So Gary Ricci is co-founder, co-managing member, and investor in Ascendo Equities, which is primarily a seed stage to growth stage venture capital fund. They invest in top entrepreneurial teams with great concepts and ideas with a need for strategic advisory services and seed capital. Their core is creating, leveraging emerging disruptive technologies and solutions to change existing markets. And they say connect, collaborate, and scale. And you'll see why in a minute. Gary is a perfect fit for Eugene, who I met first. And Eugene is co-founder and CEO of Silencer Devices. What, may you ask, is that? Well, he'll tell you in a few minutes. But Eugene is an engineer turned product marketer who has helped deliver over $22 billion in fast, profitable growth for a variety of companies. Got quite a successful corporate career. And he's currently the CEO and primary inventor of Silencer Devices' patented noise-canceling technology, which I'm very excited about personally, which is effective across 10 times the frequency range of the commonly used technology that they intend to replace in the market. It's something that's going to affect the way we hear everything. It's very interesting today. So you two got together because of this idea that Eugene had. And Gary, I know you found Eugene, and you'll tell that story. But the quote, the Steve Jobs quote, what do you guys see in that?
Well, I always follow the carpe diem, seize the day.
Right.
Actually, I have a quote in my email signature. Think you can, think you can't. Either way, you'll be right.
Right.
Failure is good. I teach my kids. Mm-hmm. Failure is the best schooling in life. And yet, like you said earlier, you live once.
You're repeating the entrepreneurial mantras, which are great.
Go follow your passion.
Yep.
You live once, and
Love
if
it.
you follow your passion, the rest will follow.
Excellent. Eugene, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, completely agree. And I always think about, Michael Jordan saying, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Take your shot. What else are you going to do, right?
Yep.
And to go back to Steve Jobs, we're intending to make a dent in the universe ourselves. So
Love it. So let's get into your story. So Gary, I know you chased Eugene down.
In a good way.
In a good way.
yeah, he wasn't like trying to run me over.
He wasn't stalking you. Okay.
Who's in the bush?
So tell us that quick story, and then Eugene will get into how you developed the idea that you two are working on.
Yeah, a while back, actually a decade ago, when I had brown hair, I was actually at the time working on a media project. Myself and a bunch of partners were producing.
You've got a wonderful shade of salt and pepper, though, I have to say.
Yeah,
That's very nice.
yeah, tell my wife that. I was working on a media project. We were excited about it. We were actually syndicating it on an international basis, and we were finishing up in the editing room, and we were doing some live shots, but we were looking for sponsors specifically to place within the content, and it was a television show. So I, being the aggressor that I am, I went through LinkedIn and was looking for an electronics type sponsor brander. So I was looking up all the typical Googles, Apple, Samsungs of the world, and there was Eugene's face popped up. And forgive me, I forget the title at the time. Director of
Product marketing. Yeah.
Product marketing.
I was a product guy for years.
Of product marketing. So I sent him a DM, and after 1, twice, 3 times of not responding, I think after my 12th time I poked him, he decided, okay, who is this guy? I'm down the road. Let's meet for lunch. And then Eugene and I met up lunch at a little Chinese restaurant in Teaneck, New Jersey, and we hit it off, obviously, with my entrepreneurial spirit. And Eugene having it in his blood. He talked about his thoughts and ideas outside of the corporate world. And we discussed
The long list.
the long list of many ideas Eugene had that would like to pursue. And may I say one of them was, based on his experience, he wanted to find a way, or there was a need to quiet vacuum cleaners. And now actually when I'm talking to you and I think about it, believe it or not, that excited me. I don't know why.
It's a great
Because they're
idea.
annoying, and
I would
who
love.
needs to hear
Listen,
that?
I have to work at home these days. My office is under construction. That idea would come in very handy because
Yeah,
the
many
noise goes
appliances
through the
come in.
wall.
So we stayed in touch. We went back and forth. Nothing came out of Samsung, by the way, for my show. But the idea of quieting in the vacuum, I like the fact that it's never been done before. And through my course of my careers and my life, believe it or not, I like creating things. That's where I get my juices flowing and my excitement. Once it's created, I kind of lose focus and I'm on to the next thing, which sometimes is good and sometimes is bad. It's a roller coaster ride. But
Serial entrepreneur. That's right.
I don't mind it. I love the ups and downs, but
So what happened to the vacuum cleaner idea before we move on to the big idea?
Well, I guess at first we tried to do what everybody does, right? We tried to use existing chipsets and technology, and realized that no one's using this for reasons that make sense. It's not capable, right? It can't change fast enough in real time. It can't do the frequency range, and from there I got the bright idea. Oh well, maybe I can make a better version of that, and that was another fail. And
Failure is
it's
essential.
failing forward.
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
one. It's building the steps to the next thing.
yeah, and that's a great way to look at it, but certainly didn't feel that way at the time. And in fact, we were thinking of packing it in at that point, and one of our early non-founding investors, asked me a question. I gave him a status update, and he's like, "Yeah, no. I didn't ask you how it's going. I asked you what do you need." And I'm like, "Wow, Tomas has a much better question. I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out." And that's what led to this paradigm shift in approach to the problem of noise canceling, which fortunately is bearing fruit.
yeah, just a quick tidbit. I mean, time, tenacity, and the belief.
Like
Trust
it.
me, we failed many times, but for something, don't tell me what in our head. It was true belief that this is going to work.
Hey, I just thought of something. Aren't you from Edison, New Jersey, or around there?
I live in Edison.
Edison.
Yes. Yeah, there you go.
Thomas said, "There's your
I went to
legacy
the
right there."
museum, last summer.
Look at how many failures he had before he hit on.
Only
but what he
10,000,
says
right?
is, I didn't fail. But I think it was actually
Yeah.
3. I didn't fail 3,000 times. I found 3,000 ways that don't work.
Right, exactly.
So
right.
that brings me closer to the one
Yep.
that does, right? And that some days is very encouraging.
Right, I can imagine.
Well, when we started, this is a quick tidbit. My son was 5,
yeah.
and now we're applying to colleges for my
Wow.
son. Okay,
There you go.
but
Rome wasn't built in a day either, right?
It felt like yesterday.
But I know you're far enough along that Eugene has left his corporate job, and you're doing it full time. And I think you have another employee.
Yeah.
And you guys are on your way. So let's talk about how you got from the vacuum cleaner to where it is today. And then we'll talk about what happens next.
Sure. Well, as I mentioned, the paradigm shift was a better question than I was asking myself,
Right.
which led me to reconsider the problem and solving the problem from first principles, right? And it sounds pompous to say it, but like 6 months of thought experiments about how sound moves and exists in space, and led to this approach, right? And I had to do it unconstrained. I had to pretend cost didn't matter. I had all the processing power in the world, and all these things, and that's what led to this different approach, which our technical advisor hates because I can't do the mathematical proof. But I'm like, yeah, well, it works. If you want to do the math, go ahead.
What do you call that? It's Moore's law, because when we started,
Yeah, that's a fact.
we actually couldn't do what we like when we started the concept of the strategy of putting together silencer, and what we thought we could do, we actually couldn't do until today. But the reason is that of Moore's law, reference to where technology has advanced, and the chips and how fast things work.
Right.
So it worked in our favor.
Yeah, that's helped us you need to be nearly real time, right? Like high frequencies are changing 10,000, 20,000 times a second, right? That's pretty quick. And you have to do all your processing. Sound travels at 650 miles an hour, right?
Right.
Meters per second, or I should say 350 meters per second, right? And that's really fast, right? So if you got the thickness of a phone is a quarter inch or less, right? You got to do your magic in essentially no time. Right?
So that leads me to, before we get too much into the technical aspect of it, and maybe we won't, maybe we shouldn't.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, let's keep it entertaining.
But
to non-geeks.
I just said a sentence about what it does, and I understand it. But for our listeners, why don't you tell the practical applications of what you're doing?
Yeah. So, for example, there's lots of applications, right? But right now, mobile phone, right? You look at mobile phone ads, it's about the camera. Wouldn't it be great if they could market it as a better phone?
Right. I always think about that.
Yeah,
what are
yeah.
you going to do about the phone?
Yeah, exactly. Right. If who wouldn't, you do it all the time, right? You're in your business, you're out in the street, you're in a restaurant, an important call comes in. You don't have the confidence to take the call.
Right.
That's a wonderful example, right? And how much smarter would Siri or Bard or Google Assistant seem to be if they can hear you better? Right. And especially now with natural language programming ascending, this is getting more and more critical, right? So, that's just the tip of the iceberg, or work from home, right? How do you keep your home life out of your work life?
Well, and a great example.
You need what we do.
Look, if you guys hadn't come down to Philadelphia today from Central Jersey, we'd be on Zoom and in our homes. And how many times do you hear background noises and interference?
Or just even not clarity either, like a
Right.
clear voice like we have here in the
Right.
studio because of this soundproofing and all of that.
Well, that's a great question.
Right,
I
you
was
hear you're
thinking
on
about,
Zoom, and then your neighbor's landscaper shows up, and there's a leaf blower going, right?
Yeah, the timing for that leaf blower is always spot
Yeah,
on.
Right.
Dog barking.
We can take care of the leaf
Unbelievable.
blower, the
Right.
barking dog, the baby crying, all that stuff.
The wife in
Well,
the back.
But to Angie's point, because I was thinking this is a question, but in addition to that, would it give more clarity of sound as well, so the words aren't cut off as much and all that kind of thing as well?
In terms of how some current canceling works, yes, right? Because
Okay.
some things are cutting things out that they shouldn't,
Right.
Because they're
It's
canceling.
It's
they're
because of the
canceling the
current
wrong
technology.
stuff.
Right.
Right,
Gotcha.
right.
So with that, guys, I think we're almost at the halfway point, which means time's for a commercial. So that's an unbelievable.
flies when you're-
Time flies on this show. There's no question about it. So we will be back in a moment. Back with Eugene and with Gary, and see you then.
Silencer Devices has created a radically better noise-canceling technology. Unlike the commonly used technology, which was introduced to the market over 40 years ago, Silencer Devices can suppress both repetitive, cyclical sounds like engine noise and dynamic sounds like horns beeping or even music playing. As importantly, Silencer Devices technology is effective across the entire audio spectrum and beyond. That means their noise-canceling technology can help with both the plain engine noise and the crying baby sitting behind you to street noise and more. In addition, it has extremely low latency and requires very little runtime memory or computing power, which makes it suitable for portable devices like earbuds and mobile phones. The time is now to be among the first to bring this globally patented technology to market and take the market share you deserve. Visit silencerdevices.com to learn more about the future of noise canceling.
So we're back here at Founders Forum, and we have Eugene Seagriff and Gary Ricci, and we were just talking about the concept of the idea behind silencer devices. And so what's next, guys? So I know that you have a lot of U.S. patents, so we can talk freely about this, and international patents. What comes next?
Yeah, well, the patent portfolio is growing tremendously, which is exciting and good. And what we tried to do there is, approach patenting the way a large company would, right? They want to protect globally. We're targeting 80% of the global GDP, and we have at least one patent in almost every country we targeted so far. EU, we have 2. We have them in Russia, China, Japan, Israel.
Some of the toughest countries you have.
Yes, remarkably so. So very exciting, the patent portfolio, and we think that'll help build our value. Our goal, our wish, our dream is acquisition by a larger, better resourced organization, because we think they can do more with the technology faster and better than we can.
Such as a Samsung or someone like that.
Yeah, many opportunities. And we have one global brand already interested in at least licensing in one or more categories. And we're now just beginning to go public. We stayed in stealth mode intentionally because we felt, we were underfunded to be being able to survive multiple attacks from patent trolls or whatever, right? And we're just now getting public about what we're up to and approaching companies, and so far the responses are very positive. And like I said,
Very
we have
favorable.
one company that's already interested in licensing, and we're intending to. If we need to, we'll become a licensed organization for a few years, but we suspect that along the way, someone's going to say, gosh, I'd rather have control of this than let my competitors have control of this. And
A little competitive, sustainable advantage for the purchaser.
So start by being licensors, and then when you eventually sell it, you'll be selling the license agreements as well along with it. Yeah.
along with the patent portfolio, the technology, and the know-how. Yes,
Gotcha.
yes, yeah.
What kind of challenges stand in your way right now? Obviously there's a lot, but
Well, where we're at is a little early. There's we have a great proof of concept of our technology working and being able to cancel a broad range of sounds, including music, babies crying, dogs barking, and we can cancel anything, right? So dramatically suppress it, and next we need to migrate that to a headphone demo and a voice assistant demo, right? Like if you ever use, you were mentioning it before we started about Alexa and Google Home, those kinds of things. Right now they have 2 problems. One is if they play a commercial that says, "Hey Alexa" or "Hey Google," it wakes the device up, right? And we could solve that by inserting our technology between the speaker and the mics. And similarly, if you tell it to play music, you got to scream at it to make it stop, right? Or if in your car, if you're going to use voice assistant, it turns the radio off. no need for that if you apply our technology in the manner which we've designed. And so we think that's fantastic, and we'd like to get that demo done. So with those two demos, we can get more aggressively engaged with more companies, and we've already taken the next step towards putting it all into a chip. So that's we're one step from a chip. So to be a licensing
So
organization,
you're almost past the technological challenges. It sounds
exactly
like.
right.
Gotcha.
Exactly right. So we're talking to some companies about becoming a chip partner, and we suspect they may choose to acquire instead, and that will be fine with us. We're painfully aware of our limitations, or my limitations.
Very exciting. Listen, it's exciting for us to be in the midst of, you hear these kind of life-changing inventions that people have that impacts people every day. Sometimes you don't hear about the inventors, sometimes you do, but all of a sudden they just appear, especially at the pace of technology we're living in today. So,
Yeah, and the remarkable thing is the legacy technology that everyone's using is 40 years old.
Right.
Like
You told me
our
that, so it's
business
unbelievable.
It's amazing.
advisor commercialized those patents back in the 80s and took a company public. But it was that long ago, right? And shockingly, no one's come up with a better mousetrap yet.
Right.
That really is
until now.
amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
Until now.
And you don't know of anyone else that's working on it or has done it as well, I guess.
No, and we think part of the reason is that our approach is extremely unorthodox, and any expert like our technical advisor will hate it.
Right.
Right? Oh, that's not possible. You don't do that.
Right.
There's no math supporting this idea.
It can't be
Yeah,
done, so why
well-
are you wasting your time?
Right.
It's all the things that all the quotes we've been talking about today and earlier that go against, right? Saying you have a safety net, it can't be done. You're not being audacious and bold enough. Well, why not, right?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
cell phones are only 20 years old, really.
So
in this
fortunately,
version, but that
fortunately I wasn't
technology is
encumbered by
40.
expertise.
Right.
Had enough knowledge to be dangerous, right?
That's what it takes. Every disruptor is that. So
Well, what he says, it doesn't make sense, but it works. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, it was an
said every
intuitively
inventor ever. That
right. It was
impacted.
intuitively that in every way doesn't make sense based on theory.
Right.
And
So, gentlemen, believe it or not, we have less than 4 minutes left.
Wow.
So we got a few closing round questions for you.
Sure.
First is what we love to talk about is future vision. So when we ask for your choice, Eugene, you chose 3 years, and Gary chose 1. Who wants to go first?
Well, actually, it's flipped. Eugene picked 1, and I picked 3.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. You're right. I switched.
I'm into that,
I
immediate
switched my papers
gratification.
around.
that
You're
might be a
absolutely
good
right.
test to see how aligned.
I was thinking that it didn't add up. I switched
Actually,
my papers.
to go back, I'm going to hold to 1. I prefer the 1.
Go. So what do you see happening in a year?
No, actually, as Eugene said earlier, there was a couple delays. Obviously, there's always delays in whatever you're doing and expectations. But we are now just going into market. We're getting a great response. We're starting to engage. And what I'd like to see by the end of 2024, we're aggressively licensing the software, and most likely we're going to be acquired.
Right.
Because someone's going to look at us and they're going to want to take us and control it in the market.
So I'm guessing your vision is the same but different time frame because
We aligned in the car.
okay, you got that all straightened out. Okay, good.
3 years too long, Eric.
Yeah, he talked me into by the way, I'm holding you to a year.
There you go, man.
Good thing you had an hour ride at least, right?
Yes, exactly.
All right, we can move on then. That's great.
Well, it's been 12 years already.
So
What's one more?
Yeah, one more is enough.
So more questions. So I will start with Eugene on this one. What are your favorite books?
One of them is called The Art of Impossible by Stephen Kotler. It's about maximizing the persistence and utilization of flow state, right? Based on neuroscience, and actually that was a subject on one of your podcasts not too long ago, if I remember right. And that's a big one for me, And then all the classics, right? Tony Robbins, Waking the Giant Within. I read that at least once a year.
Nice.
To try to keep improving, getting better at optimizing my strengths and then finding other resources to fill in.
You're a very dynamic guy for a tech nerd.
Yeah. I don't fit the profile.
You're
but
true
I've
entrepreneur.
learned to adapt to social interface. But
Back to Gary for a minute. Gary, if you could speak to your younger self, what advice would you give you?
Well, I told Eugene on the way down I would have kept my 1997 Z28.
Haven't heard that one before.
As every good Jersey boy should have. Yeah.
To skip off of the technology point, I would have invested and held on to more real estate. I hate to be more blunt, but that's
Okay.
that's the lane.
I
Definitely.
understand.
Yeah.
I'd love to pursue that conversation with you later.
Yeah.
It's an interesting observation. And then, Eugene, you have, I think, last question. What advice do you have for fellow tech entrepreneurs who are coming up?
yeah, I think the opening quote was a good one, right? Ideas are a dime a dozen. You got to execute, and you got to make things happen. If you're gonna you can think about it all day long, you can talk about it all day long, but if you don't go out there and do it, it's not going to happen.
Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure having you here. Best of luck to Silencer Devices. I don't know if we'll hear it by that name, but hopefully we'll be using the technology in the not too distant future. And it's been a pleasure. It's a great story. Wish you all the best.
Thanks for being bold.
Thanks for having
Appreciate
us.
having
Thanks
us. Thank you
much.
so much.
Our pleasure.